Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cats Track. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and sharing this with your friends. Today's episode is with my friend Reinekke Lengelle. Reinekke was born in the Netherlands. She became a Canadian in 1979 at age 9. She tells me that she loves her family, they are open with each other, and love learning together. She cultivates an environment of love and with no pressure, so thanks. Besides her loved ones, Reinekke is passionate about writing for well-being. Friends, you'll find her full bio attached. Reinekke, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Do you mind sharing a little bit more? Before we started recording, we were talking about the town that you were born in. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was born in a city near the German border in the Netherlands called Nijmegen, and it's one of the oldest cities in the Netherlands. It was called Novio Magum, which is a Roman name. I think it was New Market, or I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it's a beautiful old city, and they fight with Maastricht over who's the oldest. So that's to the south of them is Maastricht, and the Maastricht say no, we're older, and Nijmegen says no, we're older. So anyway, both.
That's beautiful. Cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. Are you ready for the questions that we sent your way?
Yes, I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay. What's been your greatest challenge in the last few months?
Yeah, and you're thinking of COVID, with just the limitations that we have with COVID and stuff. I have to say that I've been doing well, despite, my husband died 2 years ago. This is the day that he died 2 years ago. So I have spent the last year and a half writing a book, and it's now complete. It will be published. So, and that's been a very good company for me, and I'm very grateful for that. So the difficulty has actually been watching the young people not be able to socialize with their friends and not get out and have a normal teenage life, And so that's what I have found. I've been thinking about the young people, and because I'm happy to be a bit of a hermit writer, and I teach for Athabasca University, and I work at home. I'm used to working at home for many months a year. I'm introverted enough to be able to cope with that. But so I think about the young people. Yeah.
You're such a kind heart. Thank you for sharing that. And it's so true. What is the name of the book that you're finishing, that you're writing about?
The book is called Writing the Self in Bereavement, a story of love, spousal loss, and resilience. And it's everything I learned about grief going through it myself, but also referencing a lot of grief resources and reading about other people's experiences with grief, but also the literature, the scientific literature on grief. What do we know about grief? And there's lots of things, the misconceptions about grief, like for instance, the Kubler-Ross stage model is not really how most people grieve. Most of us are quite resilient in grief. 68% of people are quite resilient in grief. And there's reasons why sometimes we're not as resilient in grief. So I found those things so fascinating to study while I was also grieving. So there's the poet heart in me that cries at sorrow and all of that. And there's also the academic in me that was studying this topic.
Wow, very interesting. I look forward to reading it. And let us know when we can promote it for you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. It's coming out at the end of December in hardcover, softcover, and an e-version as well through Routledge Publishing, an academic publisher. Yeah.
Wonderful. Will it be in time for Christmas?
No, I think probably just shy of Christmas. So it's just after New Year's. It can be a New Year's gift.
Yeah, right? Any reason to get a gift.
Yeah, and maybe appropriate too in this time of COVID, when there are more losses in many ways, not only death losses, but also other kinds of losses as a result, and how do we actually deal with loss? That this is a topic of the book, So
the amount of suicides that have increased from all of the decisions made around COVID, that's the one I'm focusing on.
Okay, yes. And one of the things I love about writing in the inner life is that we cultivate a healthy relationship with the self, so that when we have times like this, when we're more isolated or we're dealing with particular hardships from the outside, we have a lot more inner resources than we sometimes realize. It can be very good company for ourselves, and even cultivate better relationships with other people as a result of knowing our own needs better and all of that. And that's part of that writing process. It's a self-awareness process,
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. What about the 3 things that you want to share with the audience today?
I would say what I'd like to share is I want to connect this learning I've done on grief with our current situation in COVID, and I think what I would like to share is this idea that all our feelings are welcome. Like, I think that we actually cope better when we allow ourselves to be sad, for instance, that we experience missing our friends and missing travel perhaps and things like that. And we might be angry at times as well, and how can we honor our anger while still honoring other people and not lashing out or anything, but how can we make anger into something that's fruitful? How can we allow our sadness to be there? How can we let our humor be there, our joy? Because of course, this is an invitation to make some morbid jokes. One must make a few morbid jokes, right, to survive. And so this is, I think, important to honor our feelings, because if we honor our feelings, they don't actually last very long. We don't have to suffer very long. Like, if sadness arises in the middle of grief, it sometimes only lasts about a minute and a half if we don't fuel it with all sorts of drama. So can we learn to be aware of the drama that we have that is fueling particular narratives that are not going to be healthy for us. So that's what I would love to share with people, and that's what my work is all about.
I love it. Thank you. Anything else you want to share in there?
Yeah, it's it's going to be a long winter here in Alberta. We're in Alberta, of course, and there's snow already on the ground. It's only November. So how can we also, with this sort of social isolation that we have, create healthy routines for ourselves, like walking, appreciating the snowfall, appreciating the squirrel that runs around the yard, those kind of things, the very simple pleasures of life, because there are so many to enjoy. So I invite people to know that they just have a much more inside, to much more richness inside, to connect with all that is out there. And so that's, I call it the inner life, and we have this great inner life if we are reading great books, if we're talking to interesting people, if we're putting our own thoughts on the page and rejuvenating ourselves through creativity.
Oh, very profound. I agree with you. I feel fortunate to be able to see what I'm very grateful for. And in fact, I feel so blessed in this amazing city, province, country, and being able to connect with friends like you. I have a huge amount of gratitude, always.
Yes, and often we've learned that way of being grateful. I'd say, at least I know from my experience, that when we've had some hardship and we've gained some good perspective on it, we soften in life. As we mature and grow older, we soften in life, and we're less judgmental about other people, and we have fewer expectations about what they should be and live up to in our own life. We become, and then we find we're in this state of gratitude, kind of irrelevant about what's happening on the outside. So I think it's a lovely thing to cultivate.
I agree with you. Very nice. Thank you, Reinekke.
You're welcome.
And what about your good news or opportunity or anything you want in closing? This is you.
Oh, well, I'd love to brag. I brag about something that
Of course.
Yes. Well, my writing work is always focused on, writing for personal development and wellness. And I do that at the university level, the graduate level. I'm teaching that. And in my PhD research, I focused on career writing and the applications in career. But now that my spouse has died, 2 years ago, I started writing about grief and the applications of writing specifically in grief. And this week, I've taken the week off to celebrate his life and really think about him and his impact on my life. And I've been invited by grief scholar Robert Niemeyer, who's very famous in the United States, to co-teach a therapeutic writing workshop with him for the University of Calgary Social Work Department. So
that's amazing.
Yes, it really is.
I am so proud of you. Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it really is exciting. He's in Portland, Oregon. And he and I have become friends as we've dialogued about the research around grief and around losses. And so we'll be co-presenting.
I love it. Wow, Reinekke, that's so good. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your words of wisdom, and keep up the good work, Reinekke.
Yes, well, thanks so much for the invitation, and thank you to Margot as well for introducing us,
Yeah.
Margot, because she's a colleague, of course. Her work is in restorative justice, and my work is in the careers and in the healing and the bereavement area. So we share so much in common, and she introduced us. So
What a team.
well,
Thank you again. Thank
okay,
you.
yeah.
Everyone, that was Reinekke. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to read her book. Watch all the good work that she's doing. Thank you for joining us on Cat's Track, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.